Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the 2024 Plant Powered Challenge. I'm so grateful for everyone who has joined us for this challenge so far. Today, we have an absolutely awesome session planned for you with Chef Sam Sherman. Sam is a chef with Corewell Health, and she's worked with us for 5 years. She teaches a wide variety of cooking classes for the community, patients, and medical residents. She's a graduate of the Secchia Institute for Culinary Education and Ferris State University. Sam has a passion for cooking ever since she was young and really found that passion when she was in culinary school, learning how to cook nutritious, plant-forward foods as part of her work that she did in culinary school. We're grateful to have her here today with us, as well as have her in the kitchen all the time. Today for this session, I will be monitoring the Q&A in the chat. So if you have questions, you can put them there. I will do my best to answer as many as possible. And if we have some time throughout, I will try to pepper them in as well while Sam is walking us through the cookbook that she'll talk with us about today. If anyone did not get the cookbook, no worries. She'll kind of talk us through that. If you want to get it later, you're more than welcome to. But really, this is just a chance for you to learn more about plant-forward cooking. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chef Sam so we can let the fun begin. Sam, welcome.
Yeah, hi, thank you. I'm Chef Sam. I will be talking about this book today. It is America's Test Kitchen, the complete plant-based cookbook. This is a great cookbook if you are new to plant-based cooking, if you have been doing it for many years. It's a great one that has lots of great information. So we're going to start with talking about it, and then I am going to do a quick little demonstration of a dish, and then we will go into just more questions if there's any left at the end. So I just want to start off that I really enjoy cookbooks that have a introduction. So this one talks about how to stock your plant-based kitchen, which is really important. Stocking your kitchen is the first step to making food at home and making it delicious. So this first section talks about storage and how to store things very well. If you're cooking all plant-based, the good news for you is that you don't have to worry about raw meat being at the bottom, eggs being at the bottom. Anything can kind of go anywhere in your fridge, which is really great. It does talk about specific things like where cold zone and hot zones are in your fridge. I find every fridge is going to be a little bit different, so know that about your own fridge. It talks about what fruits and vegetables to leave on the counter. Good rule of thumb is to keep most of them out on the counter until they're ripe, and then store them in the fridge because that ripening process is going to slow down a lot once it gets in the fridge. So that goes for avocados, tomatoes, peaches, things like that are great. And then when to wash produce. My rule of thumb is always right before you're going to eat them. Produce hates moisture. It tends to rot a lot faster. So definitely wash right before you go to eat it or use it, or make sure it's super dry before you put it back in the fridge if you did wash it. There's a tip about how to wash berries in here. I think that's great. And then really pay attention to how your produce is packaged at the store. There's a reason why it is at the store the way it is. So pay attention to that. Like bananas are out on room temperature for a reason. Greens are sold how they're sold for a reason. So pay attention to that. And then it goes into what we want to keep in our pantry, which I think is really important to keep our pantry stocked. You can really make a great meal out of majority of majority of pantry staples. The dish that I'm demonstrating today is majority pantry staples, and it comes together really quickly. So it's keeping things on hand like miso, nutritional yeast, soy sauce. Those are all going to be great for flavor bombs in dishes. Tomatoes, canned tomatoes are an easy thing to keep on hand that make a really quick pasta dish or a great soup. Keeping dried mushrooms is another great idea. Those add a lot of flavor, but can also be rehydrated and added to a meal. Keeping some extra virgin olive oil on hand. That's what we recommend, is keeping extra virgin olive oil, which can stay in the pantry. It does best in a cool, dark place, preferably in like a solid container, so not a clear bottle. And then the next section is going to talk about plant protein power. So really important to know that you can get protein from plants. I'm sure you've heard it before, and you'll hear it again in this challenge, that plants really do contain the protein that we need. Um, and it can be found in legumes. So that's beans, lentils, peas, which are great to keep in the freezer, and then tempeh and tofu, which can also be frozen. So if you buy it in bulk, you can keep it in the fridge, and if you're not going to use it fast enough, you can put it in your freezer. And then same with tree nuts and seeds. Those can also be kept in the freezer for longer shelf life if you buy those in bulk. And then keeping grains on hand. Grains are great for a really easy, quick meal, filling meal. Some of my favorite are farro and wheat berries, but also keeping some whole wheat pasta, some brown rice, quinoa. Those are all great things to keep on hand. And then next we go into kind of the plant-based dairy products. So we have a section here on plant-based yogurt, creamer, and cheese and milk. I'm sure you have seen the billions of options that are out there now, which is great that there's that many options now, but it also can be very overwhelming. I think a good rule of thumb is when choosing a milk, choose one you like the taste of it. So I like using oat milk in my teas because it's a little bit more naturally sweet. And then I like using soy milk to cook with. But if you prefer almond milk or cashew milk, that also works. And then finding ones with as little ingredients as possible. So, you don't want to see a laundry list of ingredients under that plant-based milk. It really just needs the item and water. And it could contain a little bit of oil, and sometimes there's sugar, which we want to stay away from if we can. And you can also experiment with making your own. It's super easy, but is time consuming. But you probably have a lot of the tools necessary already in your house. And then plant-based yogurts, again, just looking for ones that have very little ingredients. It is going to be a different product to use than traditional dairy yogurt. It acts a little bit differently. Sometimes they're a little bit thinner, and they may not contain as much nutritional value as what you're used to with dairy yogurt, just meaning like dairy yogurt has a ton of protein, where like coconut milk yogurt isn't going to contain the same amount of protein, but is going to be nice and creamy in a smoothie. Same thing with plant-based creamers. Just looking for ones that have as little of sugar as you can find, good ingredients. And then those plant-based cheeses, there's really not awesome options out there for you, but some of my favorite comes from Kite Hill. Kite Hill makes a great ricotta, which is almond based, and I've tried to make it at home and I can't make it as good as what they can. I don't know what kind of blender they have in their facility, but it makes it better than mine. But that's a really great one. And then just using these products when necessary, but not relying on them in our kitchens. Okay, and then we want to talk about the superstars of the plant world, which is the produce. So we want to focus on the vegetables that are in the dish. And so that can be carrots, cauliflower, kale, squash, potatoes. We haven't mentioned lentils yet. Lentils are great. And so all of these can make really great dishes and really should be the focus of our plate. So it could be as easy as, making roasted carrots on top of a grain, making a cauliflower and potato mash, having a delicious kale salad, making a Hasselback butternut squash roast. And then it goes into how to build a plant-based meal, which we talk a lot about. So, you can start with a salad, and or a soup and add a crusty bread to just make that go longer. Serve a dish over a bed of grains or leaves. Um, Serve a pasta dish plus make a vegetable. Um, make a few small dishes. I love having like kind of like tapas style dinner at home. Um, it's really fun. I love like going out to dinner and getting a bunch of appetizers and sharing them with people. And why not do that at home? Um, and then there's also great ones that are one dish meals. I think the one I'm showing you guys tonight would be a great example of a one dish meal and almost one pot. It does take two, but almost one. And then the start of this book is great that it has some building block recipes that you can start making at home. A lot of this stuff is stuff that you can get at the store, but really awesome if you could make it at home as well. So we have some vegetable broths. Those are great to start making at home. One, you can use your vegetable scraps, which is really great. We don't have to waste them. You can use your onion peels and carrot tops and that celery that's been in your fridge for a week too long, that's a little bit too soft. You can use all those things to make delicious vegetable broth at home. Um, there's a recipe for a pesto, really easy to make. You can freeze it. If you freeze it, it stays just as beautifully green. Um, there's how to make your own plant milk. So it has an almond, soy, and oat milk option. There's a few cheese sauces. One that I'm going to be highlighting tonight is a vegan Parmesan option, which is really easy to do. It's cashews, nutritional yeast, pine nuts, some green olive, which adds that nice umami, and then some salt. And it just gets pureed or processed in a food processor and then dried out in the oven. Um, so that is about the first like 25 pages of the book. Really great to go into these and read them into more depth, especially if you want to learn more about specific items to keep on hand. So now I am on page 28. This is the start of a brunch section. So I like when cookbooks have these sections as well. It makes it really easy for me to be like, I need a brunch recipe, I need a breakfast recipe. Where do I go in this book to find one? Is there one in this book I like? And if there's not, where am I going to find one next? So it has a lot of great, really good tofu recipes to make for breakfast, which is how I got my start into tofu, is making tofu scrambles. They're delicious. I prefer them to be made into breakfast tacos. I think they're really great with a nice crispy corn tortilla. We also have some hashes, which are a good start. Use those hearty vegetables that we have in the or in the pantry and in the fridge. Also, you can rely on frozen potatoes as well. There's a hash brown omelet. There's nobody saying that you can't use frozen shredded potatoes as well. You do not have to shred your own. We have some toast recipes. One specifically on page 36 is a sauteed grape and almond butter toast. If you've never had a sauteed grape or a roasted grape, they are very delicious. I don't have them often, but I've had them a few times in my life, and they are very good and very surprising how good they are. There's some make ahead meals like some muesli, some granola. Those are nice if you have kids that you're trying to feed in the morning. Same with chia pudding, muffins. Those are nice, like grab and go things. And then if you want to get a little bit fancier on the weekends, you can make some scones. They take a little bit of extra work, but are nice for a party. There's also some pancakes, um, waffles, and French toast. I'd be interested to see which team you're on. I'm definitely team waffle. I like the crispiness of it, um, the nice crevices to put fruit in or a nice fruit sauce. Banana bread, I'm sure we're all um, hoarding bananas that are way too ripe in our freezer. I know I probably have at least 9 right now in my freezer. Um, Definitely the thing I use them most for is banana bread. And you can take that banana bread recipe and make it right into a muffin tin as well. And then you have quick breakfast on the go. And then next on page 54, we're talking about soups, stews, and chilies, which I think is what we're all eating right now or what we're craving to eat. I know it's what I probably cook probably 2 soups a week right now. And a lot of them are just what's in my fridge and what can I clean out. So we have some creamier soups, a ginger carrot one, a curried cauliflower one. Those ones get nice and blended. I recommend getting a immersion blender if you really like pureed soups. That is like the stick blender. It's nice because you don't have to worry about your blender exploding on you because of the hot liquid or it making a mess. It's just nice to put that stick blender into the pot and then it gets nice and blended and you don't have to worry about anything else. We have some bean soups. I definitely recommend adding beans to soup. Just keeping cans on hand to just toss into soups. We have some stews in here. I think this rustic leek and potato soup looks delicious. We have a Moroccan lentil soup. Um, I love lentils in soup, especially red lentils. Red lentils just kind of disintegrate and fall apart into soup, which is really nice. It thickens it really nicely. We have a chickpea curry that would be great over some cooked brown rice or other grain. Um, we have a roasted poblano and white bean chili. A Italian vegetable stew. What else do we have? I think any of these could be good. And soup is a really great starting point to add other vegetables that you have in your fridge. So if you're making something and you're like, well, I have this red bell pepper that's not looking the best anymore, chop it up and put it in your soup. I'm sure it will not taste bad. And always just use them as kind of starting points, the recipes, and then adding to it with what you have and making it your own if you're comfortable with that. Next, we move on to page 86, which is sandwiches, burgers, pizza, and more. I think this is probably the hardest subject people have when going plant-based because you don't really think of plants as being the star of sandwiches and burgers and pizza. But they can be. So you can make a really nice, um, Philly style sandwich with portobello mushrooms. Um, you can make chickpea salad sandwiches. Chickpea salad is a great thing to make. It really does mimic the texture of that canned chicken or tuna that you would normally have. And you can make it however you want. You can make it into a sandwich. You can make it into a lettuce wrap. You can just serve it on a salad. Summer rolls are a great option with the rice paper roll. You can really put anything in that. You can put some already pre-made teriyaki baked tofu with whatever veggies you have, make a nice peanut sauce. We have some cauliflower tacos. I love cauliflower tacos. Really easy. These ones get breaded, but you can also just roast the cauliflower. You just need a really good sauce and salsa, and maybe even a slaw is delicious on those. Um, you can add a lot of flavor that way. This burger topping section on page 102, um, this is really nice. So I really enjoy that there's a barbecue sauce option to make yourself. There's quick pickle options. There's this caramelized onion jam. These can really be nice flavor bombs to add to our dishes. And with this pickling recipe, you can really pickle anything. So you could do this with onions. I've pickled carrots before, celery. You can really pickle a lot of vegetables and keep them in your fridge. We have a lot of different burger options. Um, I think I like this one that is the um, curried millet cakes with the peach ginger chutney. I think that sounds delicious.
Chef, there were a couple questions in the chat I was going to ask you.
Yeah, for sure.
One was just a clarification. They asked if you said Kite Hill for non-dairy ricotta.
Yeah.
And if so, is there a place that you know that sells that?
Yeah, so it is Kite Hill. They make a lot of other options as well. They have like cream cheese, but I specifically love their ricotta to go in baked pasta dishes. Um, I have found it at Whole Foods. And then I've also found it at health food stores around town. I think I've seen it at Fresh Time as well. So I think Harvest Health has it. On the Lakeshore is Harvest Health. I've seen it there. Um, but really great that we have Whole Foods here now because Whole Foods has a lot of options. I don't do all my shopping there, but I will go there to get specific items that you just can't find anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, that's helpful. And then there's another question was if you have a preference for the type of pans that you use when you're doing plant-based cooking.
So my preference is any non-stick. I like cooking with non-stick. I know other people prefer stainless steel. I don't really have a preference of brand. I think you're gonna have goods and bads with all of them. Um, So I don't really have a preference for brand, but I prefer a non-stick. And then just taking really good care of them is really important. So I don't put them in the dishwasher at home. I wait for them to cool down completely before I wash them. That's really important. And then I don't use those Pam sprays anymore.
Mm.
Um, those can contain a lot of fillers that one aren't good for you and two aren't good for your pan. So if you've ever had a pan that has gone into the oven or in the stove or on the stove, and it gets like that tacky texture to it. That's from the Pam. It doesn't really want to be cooked, I think. So if you do want to use a spray, I just would recommend either buying a spray bottle and filling it with your own oil or purchasing the ones, they're called like non-aerosol. They're a little bit pricier, but purchasing those and the only ingredient should be the oil that it contains. And those will make your pans last a lot longer, those little tricks.
Great. And there was one more I was going to ask. And that was just someone has a family member with a nut allergy.
Mhm.
And so maybe as you're looking at the book that you have, if there's any recommendations you'd make for some tasty nut-free alternative recipes or just recipes that don't contain nuts, whether
Yeah.
it's now or later in the session, they would welcome hearing about that.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so we've talked about sandwiches and burgers. We're going to move on to pizza. Pizza's great. One, it's quick and easy. And it's nice to make it at home because you can really customize it. I love having build your own pizza night with my friends. Um, if I don't feel like making my own pizza dough, which I don't feel like doing very often, I'll buy those like naan breads. And that is like an individual pizza that we can all kind of customize ourselves. So you can have pesto, you can have pizza sauce. Um, you can get some plant-based cheese, but you could also use, that almond ricotta. You can make a tofu ricotta, and use things like that. And then have a bunch of veggies, roasted or not. And then you can make really good like tempeh seasoned, like Italian and ground it up and get it crispy in a pan. You can use that. You can make your own pizza sauce from scratch. There's a recipe in here. And it's got some ideas of what to make. I think this pesto pizza with fennel and cauliflower looks especially delicious to me. I'm sure other people would say this mushroom one looks delicious. I'm not the biggest fan of mushrooms. And then next we have our more section, which looks like it is a lot of um, tarts and a little bit fancier things. These might be recipes that you want to pull out if you're having a brunch or a nice dinner. You need a dish to pass to go somewhere. Those would be nice recipes. Um, so next we move on to vegetable salads, which is on page 122. It starts. So we've probably all made salads at home. You probably have your favorite tried and true. You probably have your favorite bag of salad as well. Those are great options in a pinch. Pick those up. Um, this first section is just salad dressings. So there's a pomegranate vinaigrette, which has you reduce the pomegranate juice. Reducing a lot of things can add a lot of flavor to your dishes. So reducing balsamic vinegar, apple juice, pomegranate juice, that can add a lot of sweetness to your dishes. There's a roasted garlic dressing, a tahini lemon vinaigrette. Tahini is a great option, especially for using no nuts. You can use it in replace of peanut butter, and gives you a nice smooth texture, or almond butter, any of the nut butters you can use it in replace of. It comes from sesame seeds. You probably have mostly seen tahini in store-bought hummus. It's like the secret ingredient to hummus. And next, we just have really great salads that you can look through. There's some slaws as well, some that are cooked and not cooked. I love a cooked salad. You can roast vegetables and then turn it into a nice grain salad. Um, and then on page 142 is salad toppers. So these again are going to be things that just step up your dishes. So you can make your own croutons, you can make your own crispy tortilla strips. You can spice some pepitas or sunflower seeds or nuts and add those as a nice crunchy topping. There's some pickled grapes. Again, you can add pickled vegetables to your salad. There is a potato salad that has more of like a vinaigrette dressing instead of a very heavy mayonnaise-based dressing. And then don't skip on the fruit and salad. I love a salad that contains some fruit. So there's a peach and tomato salad. Um, Panzanella salad is a great option. It is panzanella salad is basically crouton salad. So panzanella is just big pieces of bread that have been roasted or dried out, and then you add tomatoes and cucumber and red onion and basil and add a nice vinaigrette. You have to eat it right away, but it's really delicious. And then we go to the pasta dish. Everybody loves pasta, right? So we have page 154 is pasta. Um, Lots of great options. You can really find fun pasta shapes, and I am a true believer that all pasta shapes taste different, even though they contain all the same ingredients. Um, you can get whole wheat pasta anywhere, which is probably what you want to go for if you want to get more whole grains into your diet, is a whole wheat pasta. Um, and Meyer and more standard stores will sell like spaghetti, angel hair, penne, elbow. Um, I go to Horrocks in town and they have a lot of fun shapes in whole wheat. So I've seen like whole wheat lasagna sheets there, whole wheat orzo. And that's kind of fun when you need more of like a specialty cut. Um, so all of these look really great. I love pasta. It's probably the thing I make the most for my family when they ask me to make dinner. So all of these look like really great options. To me, I think this baked ziti with leeks, kale, and sun-dried tomatoes look great. Pasta salads are great options, especially in the summer. You can make them the night before. They can sit in your fridge and they can be ready for dinner the next day or lunch. Great to make leftovers. And then don't forget about the noodle dishes. So those would be more on the Asian side. So we have a spicy peanut rice noodle bowl, pad thai, um, vegetable lo mein. And all those noodles can be usually, Meyer has a good selection now. And again, there are some Asian markets in town, and you can find them online as well, usually. And then we're on to page 186, I believe. Um, this is vegetable dishes, big and small. So this is really up to you. Do you want to make this be your main part of the dish, or do you want this to be the side part of your dish? It all is up to you. Um, and a lot of these are super easy to make and really delicious and have a lot of great flavor in them just by using extra fresh herbs and spices and relying on those pantry staples that we're keeping around. So we have some really great roasted ones, some grilled options, a whipped cauliflower, which is great to use as the base of a dish, a red curry with cauliflower, how to cook some greens. It doesn't just have to be boring steamed vegetables. So this really plays into how to cook them in a more fun way. It takes a little bit of extra time, but really worth it in the end for all that extra flavor you get. There's some sauteed snow peas with lemon and parsley. Snow peas, they don't just have to go in your stir fry. They can be used for other things. Roasted smashed potatoes, one of my favorite things to do. Really great. That's on page 218 and 219. Let's see, lots of good curry options in this one. Oh, roasted delicata squash, another one of my favorites. Vegetable, it's on 228. Can't find it everywhere. I find it at Trader Joe's, sometimes at Meijer. And I think I've seen it at Costco a couple times, but it is like a round, kind of ovally squash that you can cut into half moons and you can eat the peel, which is my favorite part, because you don't have to peel the squash. Let's see. And really it's important to, look at what is in season right now. You don't necessarily have to buy things from the farmer's market, although I will say things usually taste more delicious from the farmer's market. But that's a really good indicator of what's in season is what is at the farmer's market, or a quick little Google search of what's in season in Michigan right now. And then relying on frozen vegetables as well for the off season. Next on page 236, we have great grains. So grains are really going to be a staple of a lot of your dishes. So it has some basic recipes, how to just spice up, some brown rice. But then it also has more in-depth recipes of how to make the grain more like the one pot meal. It also has some sauces in here as well, which can really, a sauce really makes the dish, in my opinion. So you can really build a dish around what kind of sauce you want to make. So you could make, a tzatziki sauce, and what are you going to build from that? Or the citrus sauce, and what are you going to build from that? What are you going to make to go with that? We have some sushi bowls. I love sushi. I don't like making it at home. It's not fun. It never turns out, it never sticks to itself. Good solution, throw it all in a bowl, make a sushi bowl. On page 254 and 255, this is one that I would love if you could just like put this right in your pantry at all times. This is going to be like a how to cook all the grains or most of the grains that you may have in your house. So how to cook brown rice, how to cook wild rice, how to cook quinoa, wheat berries. And you can really plan your meal about like, oh, I was gonna make wheat berries tonight, but they take an hour to cook. I don't have time for that. So I'm gonna make quinoa that only takes about 15 minutes to cook. So continuing on with this is the section that we're gonna make a recipe from tonight. Well, I'm gonna make it and you guys are gonna see what it looks like. So that was the grains section. Next we have beans. I'm sure you've heard enough about beans by now. It is on page 276. But lots of different ways to make beans. You can make them from scratch. You can buy dried beans, soak them overnight, cook them yourself. You can also buy canned beans. That's what I do most of the time. It's easy. It's enough for me to make 2 to 3 meals out of, and super simple. So in the beans section, I think this black-eyed pea salad with peaches and pecans looks delicious. There's lots of chickpea recipes, which I love chickpeas because they really hold up their firmness and give a better texture. There is a section of how to cook beans and when to rinse and when to not, if you wanted to read more about that. This also has some lentil recipes. Lentils are super quick cooking. They take about 20 minutes to cook from dry. You can buy them canned. I never do because they just are very fast to cook anyways. And then we also have some tofu and tempeh recipes in this because if you didn't know, tofu and tempeh come from the soybean. So I think of tempeh is fermented soybeans that have been compressed together. That's a really great thing to use to crumble it up and make a meat substitute out of. And then tofu is basically the cheese of soy milk. So they curdle soy milk and compress it and make it into these blocks, which is basically how they make cheese, but they just use soy milk instead of cow's milk. And it's really great. It can be marinated. You can make the tofu scramble. You can grill it. You can marinate it and eat it cold. You can stir it into a curry. So really great tofu recipes out there. Next is a section I'm not really going to talk about that much because it is a electric pressure cooker and slow cooker section. I don't use these very often. I don't use these tools. I will say most of these recipes in this section, this is on page 310, can definitely just be kind of alternated and made in a pot. You just will have to watch the cooking time and everything. If you like your slow cooker, and electric pressure cooker is basically going to be an Instapot, that's like the name brand. Those are really great tools to use if you like them. I just don't tend to use them very often. But really great if you do have them. And again, these recipes can just kind of be changed a little bit and made in an oven or made on the stove for the same flavors. So they have some sauce recipes in here too, like a fresh tomato sauce that you can make yourself. And then I think I skipped a section. Oh, yep, here we go. On page 342 is small bites and snacks. Again, this is what I like. I like having snacky lunches. So there's lots of dips in here. There's a sweet potato hummus, very seasonal, lots of salsas. A beet muhammara dip, which is really delicious. It talks about crudité, which is a very fancy word of raw to almost raw vegetables. It's just like your veggie tray. Sometimes you want to blanch or quick cook a vegetable to put on there. And then what are your dippers? So you can definitely buy, some good crackers at the store, or you can make your own. You can also make other things that are snacky, popcorn. Those blistered shishito peppers are delicious, very seasonal, and I've only seen shishito peppers at Trader Joe's. They cook very quickly. Any bruschetta, so anything that's like on a little crostini, a little piece of bread is really great, and can really like win over a crowd. They can be very pretty and people like them. There's a section about chilies. So on here it says, I think, what is hottest and what you might want to stay away from. I'm not a heat person, so I would probably stop at number 4, which is jalapenos. I probably wouldn't go up to 7 habaneros. And dried chilies. If you've never had dried chilies, they're really great. Pack a lot of flavor. And then some other like appetizer things is buffalo cauliflower. Those are great. Some stuffed grape leaves. You can make them yourself if you would like. And then next we have a plant powered dessert section that starts on page 368. What I really want to talk about with the plant powered desserts is start with a fruit. What fruits in season? What fruit do you have in your fridge? Do you have strawberries? Are you going to make a strawberry crisp? Are you going to make strawberry shortcake? Do you have peaches? Are you going to make a peach crumble? Is it apple season? Are you going to make an apple crisp or an apple pie? Reach into your pantry. Um, you can make your own pie crust if you want. You can buy your own pie crust. Um, there's some pudding recipes that start with avocado. You can also use silken tofu as the base for pudding. If you want to get fancy, you can make your own ice cream or sorbet. Um, but yeah, start with a fruit and then go from there, or start with chocolate. I know everybody loves chocolate. I'm in the minority that doesn't like chocolate. So it's not that I don't like it, it's just not my favorite. Um, in the back section, there is a section for gluten-free recipes. If that's something that you want to look at specifically, then there is like an index as well. And then there's also some nice conversions back here too. So just some weight conversions, some temperature conversions as well. We want to make sure that we are cooking things correctly, and things like that. Those are things to have handy as well. And that is the book.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chef Sam. It was nice to
Yeah.
see. I know people were asking where they could purchase the cookbook. I
Yeah.
mentioned in the chat, like Target or going online and ordering it, they can go that
Hmm.
route. You mentioned gluten-free. There was somebody that asked about non-gluten options. Um, so whether that's maybe a gluten-free pasta or maybe even just using whole grains that
Yeah.
don't contain gluten.
Yeah. So gluten-free grains would be brown rice, quinoa, and then pasta options. Any of them that say like red lentil on the front, chickpeas on the front, those are great options that I lean towards, or brown rice as another option to be the pasta base.
And then somebody was asking too about any recommendations about specific brands for tofu. I know when I often go
Oh,
shopping, there really aren't a lot of brands. It
yeah.
tends to be that the store sells, you're just happy if they have tofu, and
Yeah.
that's specifically the type you're looking for, like super
Hmm.
firm or silken. So I'm not sure that I have a specific answer on that one, just kind of whatever the
Yeah.
store carries.
Whatever they have, it kind of depends on what I go for more, what style of tofu do I want? Do I want silken to make something creamy, add it to a smoothie, make a pudding, make a sauce out of it? Or do I want extra firm or super firm to slice up and marinate into a dish? So it really isn't a brand. I don't even know if I could say the brand of tofu that is at Meyer. I don't even know if I know it. I buy it so often and I don't even know if I know it.
I know it.
Um,
We're just used to, I think, having one there, one choice.
Yes, yes. Whatever is available to you, I would
And I
say
know
works.
most stores sell them, I think nowadays. I think probably, Meyer or Trader
Hmm.
Joe's or a lot of them, it's pretty standard now carrying tofu. So
Yeah, and you can definitely freeze, at least I freeze super firm and extra firm quite often if I find it or it's on sale, or I've had it in my fridge for too long and I don't plan on eating it, or I'm going on vacation. I just pop it right in the package in the freezer, and then I just thaw it like anything else and it's ready to go the next time.
great. Well, it looks like you're ready to cook, so I don't want to stop you from that.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna show you guys quickly. I did a lot of the work first, but this is the cashew parmesan on page 27. And then this is also the farro and broccoli Rob gratin on page 268. I did type these recipes up as well, and they'll go into the email with the recording later this evening or tomorrow. Um, so I've already made the cashew parmesan. Super easy. It's on this cookie sheet because it was in the oven. Um, but this is just cashews, nutritional yeast, pine nuts, green olive, and salt chopped up. You can make this ahead of time and keep it in the fridge. You also don't need to make this. A great plant vegan parmesan is just using nutritional yeast. That's another just great option. It's really easy. It's already done for you. It gives a lot of good flavors. You can just use that right into it. Next, we have our farro and broccoli Rob gratin. So I could not actually find broccoli Rob, which was kind of disappointing, but I did a combination of Tuscan kale, which is that dark leafy kale in the store. It's also called lacinato kale or dinosaur kale. It goes by many names. And then I also chopped up some broccolini, which is the skinny broccoli. So I chopped all that up instead of doing the broccoli rabe, because broccoli rabe is just like very leafy broccoli, but it's just not found very often around here. So I have that washed and ready. In this pot back here, I have our farro already cooked. So I did the first step. I did some olive oil. I cooked some onion in there, added farro, added vegetable broth and water, and added some miso paste for really good umami flavor. Now that my water is boiling, I'm gonna add my greens to it. So this is a process called blanching. So we're gonna add our greens to this. And this just kind of gets them a head start of cooking. So you can do this ahead of time. Really doesn't take long. It also makes it like extra beautiful and green. Really brings out the color. So blanching is just quick cooking for anywhere between 1 to 4 minutes, depending on what you're cooking. Into some water. So this will just hang out for a little bit. You can already see it's getting even brighter green than what it was when it first went in there. And then you can like dump it into some ice water. I tend to just rinse it under cold water. I don't always have enough ice to go around. So while that's blanching, I'm gonna make my little topper. So in this little bowl, I have some whole wheat breadcrumbs. You can buy these store-bought. You can make them yourself with some day-old bread. And then I have a 1/4 cup of the cashew parmesan, or you can just do nutritional yeast. And then I have a little drizzle of some olive oil. So this is gonna go on at the end, and it's gonna go into the oven under the broiler. So the olive oil just helps to make it extra crispy and golden brown. So we're gonna give this a toss. And then that is our topper all done. If you've never put breadcrumbs on top of a pasta dish or a grain dish, it really adds a nice texture to things. So we're gonna set that aside. I think our greens are done. So we're gonna drain these and just rinse them under some cold water. Keep their color. And now in that same pot, I'm actually gonna do our next step. So I don't like doing dishes. It's not my favorite part of cooking. It's probably nobody's favorite part of cooking. So I try to minimize that as much as possible. So I'm just gonna use the same pot. I'm gonna add a little bit of olive oil again. And then I'm gonna toss in some minced garlic. And this is fresh garlic that I minced myself. That's really the preferred one to use, not that jar of pre-made minced garlic. That doesn't always taste very good. And we just want to give it a quick saute. And then we're also going to add some spice. So this is up to you if you want to add spice. I like a little bit of spice, not too much. So we're going to do a 1/4 or 1/8 of a teaspoon of red pepper flakes. You want to add these now, get them a little toasted and nice. Brings out their flavor. You know, they've been sitting in your pantry for who knows how long. And so they want to be a little rehydrated in the oil and get a little toasted. So I have this going, and really this is just until you can smell it. And then it's done. So just until you can smell it, until it's a little golden brown. And then you add your greens back into it. Give them a toss, get them nice and coated in that garlic and red pepper flakes. Evaporate any excess water. We're also going to add two really staple pantry ingredients for me. So I have a can of cannellini beans that I drained and rinsed. Cannellini is probably my second favorite bean. I think chickpeas are probably my first favorite bean. Really nice creaminess. And then I have some sun-dried tomatoes. These are ones that are dried. They're not packed in oil. I get a lot of questions of where to find these. They're actually found like not down the Italian aisle. They're found down the like in that weird section by the produce at Meyer that has like the nuts and like the other toppers. You can find sun-dried tomatoes. You can always find them online. Sometimes Trader Joe's has them. I just prefer the ones not packed in oil. Really just because the oil makes a mess on my cutting board and I don't like cleaning it up. So it's really easy to buy the ones that aren't packed in oil and then they're not as messy. But sun-dried tomatoes add a really nice flavor punch to pasta dishes and dishes like this.
Dan, well, you're definitely getting everyone. I don't even think there's tofu or tempeh in this dish, but we're getting a lot of great questions about
Oh,
tofu and
yeah.
tempeh. We were asked earlier about the brand and the type and where to get it. There's a question now about if you've never tried tofu or tempeh, what is the best recipe to try?
Yeah, so tofu, I would definitely recommend trying a tofu scramble first. That's what got me into tofu. I had it as a breakfast taco with some salsa and some avocado on top. There is recipes in this book, there's recipes on our website, and there's recipes on every other website as well. Tempeh, I prefer it to be crumbled, sauteed in some oil, and added seasoning to it. So if you wanted to make it more like taco seasoning, add smoked paprika, cumin, chili powder. If you wanted to make it more Italian seasoned, add fennel seeds, dried Italian seasoning, red pepper flakes, a little bit of maple syrup to add some sweetness. Those are my two recommendations to get started. And then there's a whole world out there of more recipes.
Yeah, I think that's helpful. I also sometimes tell people that like if they have a recipe they already love, that maybe they're using chicken or something in it that has some great flavor, they could just swap that out with tofu. So that way
For
they kind of
sure.
know that flavor profile, they know they love
Yeah.
it. And then try it with the different ingredients such as the tofu.
Yeah, any marinade that you use on chicken is going to work on tofu. Slice it up, marinate it, grill it, saute it in a pan, put it in the oven, and it's going to work great. So, and also try it out to eat. You're never, you know, try it out to eat, see what it's like, and um, then try to make it at home too as well. So
Someone
I
else
have my,
mentioned they love
yeah,
the Minimalist Baker, has some really nice
yeah.
recipes also for tofu and tempeh.
Yes, Minimalist Baker is one of my favorite websites to get recipes from. They do a really nice job. They also have a lot of gluten-free options for the gluten-free people as well.
I feel like that food must smell so good. That's the hard thing with virtuals. We don't get to actually
Yeah,
smell it. But I saw that garlic go and I thought, oh man, that kitchen must smell
I know.
amazing.
I know it definitely said 2 tablespoons, and I maybe put more than that in here. But my farro's cooked. So it cooked for about 35 minutes by itself. It's nice and soft. How to tell if it's soft? Taste it. Don't be afraid of tasting. I have a whole bucket of spoons here. Do not be afraid of it. Does it have good texture? It shouldn't be rock hard, but farro is going to be a little bit chewier. I'm going to dump my green mixture in here. So almost 1 pot, but we did have to use 2. But this dish that I'm using, this is just a shallow skillet. If you have a dish like this is great. This can go right into the oven to broil the top, and then you can serve it right out of this as well. So no need to put it in a casserole dish. If you had an oven safe skillet like this, those work great. I also really love the colors in this dish. So you've got the nice bright green, you have the pops of red. So I'm gonna get it all mixed up, get it as one flat layer. And then I'm gonna put this little breadcrumb cashew parmesan topper. It's gonna sprinkle it on. And then this will go right into the broiler for like 1 to 2 minutes until it's nice and golden brown and bubbly. If you don't have a broiler, you can put it at just a really hot oven as well. And this is good to go. So that is our little chef demo and the review of the book. I guess I know Elizabeth and Mariah have been answering questions in the chat, but I guess I'm open to more questions now as well.
Sorry. It always takes a second to get things, my camera switched back on. Okay, yeah, that looks beautiful. I wish I could try it. The nice thing is hopefully as people get the cookbook or at least get the recipe from you that they can then make that dish as well.
Yeah,
One person recommended, and I know can always be tricky, especially a lot of times we talk with people where like someone is kind of moving more towards plant-based eating, but maybe others are not. So an individual asked, do you have, if you're the only plant-based individual in your family, they end up throwing some of the food away sometimes because they're the only one that's eating that food. So maybe suggestions for where there's maybe just one person in the house eating plant-based, or
yeah.
maybe just two people, and how they might want to think about cooking.
Yeah, so I deal with this on a weekly basis. I um, cook for a lot of meat eaters, and I don't often eat meat. So my recommendation is to cater to yourself first. You're the one cooking. Don't worry too much about them. But make a dish that is really easy just to add some animal protein if they really want it. So this dish, I think, is delicious on its own. And what I have found is that for meat eaters, if you just put a little bit of chicken on here, they won't complain at all. They'll be like, that's a delicious dish, and I had some chicken. And that is really all what they're looking for. Same with a lot of the recipes in the book, they talk about really great hearty dishes that are beans and greens, and then topping it with an egg. I think that's a great option. It's good on its own, but you can top it with an egg. Um, Make the plants the star of the dish, but if you want to add some animal protein, cook it on the side. You know, make a big stir fry with lots of vegetables, and then just cook a little bit of chicken on the side. Have burrito bowl night. Um, and have cooked brown rice and have fajita vegetables and make a corn salsa and have beans and then have some chicken or have some ground beef or something. That way everybody can make their own. You don't have to make two separate meals. That's never fun to make two separate meals. Or make a big pot of soup. Take out what you're going to eat and then dice up some chicken and add it to the rest of the soup that other people are going to eat. So really don't like worry too much about it. Don't try to cater to them too much. Just make really delicious food that has easy ways to add a little bit of animal protein.
I love that. I think that's great to be able to, really just still make one dish, but maybe there's just a little something on the side that you're preparing for them. And I think also then they start to get used to eating this way. So as people start to
Yeah.
reduce the protein, the animal protein, where it becomes maybe more of like the garnish as opposed to the center of the plate, they just
Hmm.
start moving in that direction. So there
Yeah.
was a question just to confirm the actual name of the cookbook. I know we shared the link and the email that was
Yeah.
sent out, but just want if you could maybe just remind everybody what the title is of that cookbook that you used
Yes. So
today.
it is the complete plant-based cookbook, and it is by America's Test Kitchen. So it's not by a single person. America's Test Kitchen is a really large group of a lot of great chefs that work together to really test the best of the best recipes and make them the best that they can be. Um, And I think it's a really great cookbook for experts on plant-based eating or those who are just starting off because it adds some dishes that say you can add an egg on this or you can crumble some feta on top of this salad. So, um,
And I know you
great.
always do a really nice job too, Sam, of sharing so many of the recipes that we have on the internet. So if
Yeah.
people are not familiar, if you go to, it's still, I believe, listed under Spectrum Health,
Hmm.
but essentially where our website is for culinary medicine, we try to put as many recipes as we can get out there, listed out there, and they're listed by category. So if people are looking for some more recipe ideas that are really plant forward and super delicious, that's another great resource. And then even following our Facebook group. So if people don't follow our Lifestyle Medicine Facebook group yet, I know, Sam, you do a nice job of putting some recipes out there for people to access, especially a lot of the seasonal ones throughout the year. So do make sure that people follow that as another great resource for recipes.
Yes, yes. And then just as a reminder, this recording will be sent to you either later tonight or tomorrow, and the recipes will be included that I made today as well. So you can try them out on your own as well.
Well,
And
I
I
think
encourage you to get this book if you can.
Well, I think someone just put a great comment in the chat to wrap it up, which summed it up perfectly. Barb says, "Thank you, Chef Sam. Very informative dish. Looks delicious. Very nice review of the book as well." So we're so grateful to have your help and look forward to more sessions with you. Thanks so much, Chef.
Yeah, thank you so much.